It was all, I had a bad system. We had a horrible tax policy. I made it great with a much lower tax rate. So I took...
If tariffs are put on contractor steel, the contractor isn't earning the cost, eating the cost. They're increasing the cost for materials and the overall build price. Yes, every step of the process, contractors or people that are purchasing the materials, raw materials or whatever, if you're slapping a tariff on shit that people are buying overseas, they are the ones who are paying the fee. And when they pay the fee, they have to make up for the fee that they just paid, which means they are going to carry that cost onto the consumer. It is so simple, which is why even the Kamala Harris campaign did a pretty decent job of describing it as like a complete fucking tax. Like an increase in sales tax, basically. It's like an additional sales tax for a universal sales tax increase.
Took it from almost 40% down to 21%. Now I'm bringing it from 21 down to 15.
People will not buy upcharge when local stuff will be cheaper. Holy fuck. I understand why not Donald Trump, but tariffs exist. I am not anti-tariff across the board. Okay? I'm not anti-tariff across the board. The point is, if you don't have domestic manufacturing ramped up and ready to go in order to compete, then you're fucked. I keep repeating that we currently do not have... Guys, you're talking to someone who literally works with a unionized American manufacturer, okay? A unionized American garment producer for my merchandise at ideology.shop. I know what some of the downsides of American manufacturing are very well. I deal with it on a daily fucking basis, as a matter of fact, okay? I know better than anybody else. There are a shit ton of limitations. Part of that is because the industry has dried out, okay? And that is something that still exists here. We're talking about like garment manufacturing, which still exists in the United States of America, okay? As opposed to many of these other industries that do not. Do you understand what I am saying?
But only if you make your product in the United States, which is great. People call me, they said, what a great idea. Nobody ever heard of that before. I don't care if they make the product in Japan. Why should I give up? So it's at 21. At 21, in the first year, we took in much more revenue than we did at almost 40. Think of that. It inspired. Now, we had other things, too. We were able to get people to bring back their money. You couldn't bring back your money. If you had money in Europe, like Apple had many billions of dollars outside. They couldn't bring it. There was no way to bring it back in. The bureaucracy, the documents, the whole thing. And also the tax was too high. They wanted like half of it or something. Nobody's going to do that. So they leave their money in Japan and they spend their money there. That was part of what I did. The money came pouring back in. Apple took in hundreds of billions of dollars. They brought it back from overseas. They brought it in.
So how does the deficit increase because of that?
So what happened is this. We were ready to rock and roll, and then we had the COVID thing, and we had to focus on that. And if we didn't give some businesses a hand, you would have had a depression like in 1929. But we were ready to start. We would have very shortly been paying off debt. We have $35 trillion in debt. And I'll never forget it. It was talking about from, the standpoint of being in office. I'm in the Oval Office, and I have John McLaughlin and Fabrizio. They're two very good pollsters, probably, I don't know, I would say the two best, who knows, but very good pollsters. And we're starting to think about running for a second term. And we had the greatest economy in history. Never has there been an economy like.
And you attribute that to lowering taxes,
yeah, a lot
and
of
tariffs.
Two things, and also I cut regulations more than anybody else. And if I asked many of the businessmen, from the big companies, the guys running the big companies, I'd say, so if you had your choice, you've had it now for a long time, what's more important to you, the tax cuts, you paid less tax, or the regulation cuts? Every one of them said the regulation cuts meant more Who would think that, right? Because you don't equate it to dollars, but it actually is more dollars.
Again, I'm a licensed customs broker. Look up the pass rate on that, by the way. And everything Hassan stated about tariffs is correct. If you don't want to listen to him, I'm happy to explain it further. Message me. This is a free service for the betterment of society. It does not matter. They don't want to hear it because they've made up their minds on this, okay? You're an expert in this matter, or you're claiming to be one, so that means you're woke and gay, okay? This would be akin to listening to a doctor or an epidemiologist during the pandemic. And everybody knows that the professionals, the healthcare professionals, the doctors, the researchers, the epidemiologists were all hit with the woke autism gay mind virus, okay? So no, I do not care.
We had it going, and then we just had to focus on something else. But they were sitting there, these two pollsters were sitting there, and they said, sir, if George Washington came back and Abraham Lincoln was his VP, as opposed to Waltz, how bad is he, by the way? But if Abraham Lincoln was his VP, they couldn't beat you. You have a... And I'll never forget it, the following day, they said, something's happening in China, sir. Could we meet? I said, what's happening? People are dying. And it was all around the Wuhan lab, by the way. There are pictures with little lines, they're body bags, all around the Wuhan lab. And I always said that from the beginning, Joe, was, they tried to say, first they said it was France, and, they blamed everybody.
Right.
But then they say it was bats from a cave 2,000 miles away. So we got hit with that, and despite that, we had the best economy. And when I gave it over, the stock market was higher than it was pre-COVID. I mean, nobody could even believe it. But we saved it, and we were helping businesses. They were dying. They were
So
dying.
it's your belief that if you had a second term, given the policies in place, the way the economy was booming, that you would have been able to pay off a lot of the debt. And that was the strategy.
If we didn't have COVID, we would have been paying off debt.
For sure,
and
dude.
we would have had, and don't forget, by growth, the word growth is actually more important in a way, because you could have the same debt, but if you doubled your growth, all of a sudden you're under-levered. But still, we should pay off debt. If you viewed this $35 trillion right now, it's a lot. But if you look at the asset value, if you look at it purely as an asset value, we have oil underground, we have water, we have mountains, the assets are so enormous. But regardless of that, we've got $35 trillion in debt, we should pay it off. And we would have started paying off debt and probably even given further tax reductions. I want to get it down to 15%. We're going to do more business. But when you get hit with a COVID, everything stops, and you have to keep these businesses alive. The businesses were dying. They were just dying. This whole place, this country was going to die.
Are there influence?
By the way, this is precisely the reason why, when you listen to this conversation, you're like, what the fuck? This is so dumb. Except when, a 18-year-old that is no longer going to college, okay? An 18-year-old man fucking sparks up and listens to this conversation. He's like, damn, dude, he's fucking brilliant. That's why whenever you see those fucking TikTokers put a microphone in front of someone with a fucking Trump hat on, and they're like, why do you want Trump? They're like, he's gonna fix the economy. He's like, how? How is he gonna fix the economy? Explain to me how. He's like, I don't know, it was so much better when he was president. You were fucking 12 when he was president. What the fuck are you saying? You're barely sentient now. You don't understand anything. You don't understand a single damn thing. You're just saying it. It's vibes. Okay? Fucking vibes.
This is outside of environmental that keep people from wanting to drill for oil and frack and do those sort of things outside of the environmental concerns, which are legitimate, of course.
No,
But are there other influences that maybe over accentuate or over exaggerate these environmental effects?
I can explain how Trump will fix the economy with specific detail. Please do. We're waiting.
People being influenced in a way,
but it also can't be what fucking, it has to be what Trump has said so far. You can't just like imagine different shit.
Where they're trying to keep us from producing American oil. Yeah.
So the environmental is the biggest tool for stopping growth, the biggest tool. The other is regulation. And if you speak to Elon, he said the regulation now to send a rocket up to anywhere, even if you do everything, it's becoming impossible. But they use environmental in order to get people not to do anything. And sometimes I say, I look at some of I know the environmental stuff better because I had to build buildings in New York. I had to do environmental impact studies. And I would see some of these guys that I'd hire for a lot of money, environmentalists that would get you through the process. And they'd be up in Albany, that's the capital of New York, and they're up there trying to make it tougher for guys like me that were builders because they'd get paid more money. In other words, I had one guy, highly recommended, I was good at getting permits. I was one of the kings of I was always very good. But the environmental stuff...
Oh, he got it. Never mind. Kamala has done bad things, so what will Trump do? Good things, the best things. By doing good things, the best things. Okay, fair. That's true.
Always.
I have no answer to that.
They could slow a project down 10 years, 15 years. I had a project in Louisiana, built big LNG plant. It was for 14 years. It's going to cost $18 billion. One of the biggest, like the Empire State Building, laying down on its side times 4. Massive in the coast, or the Gulf Coast. And they said, sir, they're going to give it up. I said, they shouldn't give it up. What's the problem? They can't get their environmental. They had environmental permits that would fill this whole room up to the ceiling. And they said there was one mistake on one little line. They wanted to do it all over again. It's not going to happen. And I got them their permit instantly. And they built the plant. It's massive.
So when you're saying that, there's people that are making money by making it difficult.
Yeah.
Are you talking about lawyers?
No, I'm talking about environmental consultants and lawyers.
Environmental consultants, profit.
Dude, this is like typical Republican ideology. Everything is a graft, okay? Every single thing. It's always like, oh, dude, environmental protections, it's a fucking industry. Someone's making money. This is his tort reform.
Bit off of dragging out the process.
Absolutely.
It's the big lawyers. They're making the rules.
And
how do they
the
profit?
Process work.
How do they profit?
And I'd probably do the same thing if I were them, to be honest with you.
I
want to be honest with you.
How do they do that? How do they make it?
Let's say New York, they go to Albany.
Okay.
And they convince people that if you have a certain type of plant on the ground that's this big and in theory valueless, that it's a rare plant and you cannot even touch it. You can't go near it. You can't put a building on it. You can't do anything. Or there's a little puddle. And they call it a lake. And you have to go by the standards of a lake. I said, no, that's a puddle. Oh, you have no idea. Guys are filling a little puddle. You have no idea what they do.
And so
they use it as a way to stop you.
They use it as a way to stop you and also as a way to generate money. I'm curious how they're generating money that way, though.
Well, they get fees.
They get fees.
Massive fees.
And
you pay these guys.
People rely on them as experts because they're the people that they go to when they have to run these studies in the first place.
But some of them are just bad guys, and they're trying to make it more and more difficult.
And they have a lot of power.
I think they maybe had more. They didn't have as much with me because I would get through them, and I understood it.
I know this plant he's talking about. It's in a highly active fault area from extraction and would have ruined the area around Lake Maropas and fucked up Lake Pontchartrain as well. They're still pushing it with a state ballot initiative, and the rich venture capital has been making the rounds at our conservation conferences. Remember when Joe Rogan bitch slapped Dave Rubin on the necessity of regulation in construction, and now he's fully cut the red tape? Yeah, he's gotten more conservative over time. Also, he likes Trump. Like, Trump's vibes are better than Dave Rubin's, so. Pontchartrain. Guy is literally on her back right now, right next to me. He's just like, pet me, please.
Look, I've done so many they call it environmental impact study. I did so much to build a building. To build a building in New York is very tough. You got to deal with, think of it, financing, unions, all the municipal stuff, environmental. Of all of it, to me, the toughest thing was the environmental, because they could stop you cold with the environmental impact study stuff. And you hire a so-called expert. They say, sir, he's the one guy, he can get you through the morass. It's a morass, it's horrible. They use it as a weapon. They use it all over the country.
Right, but there are legitimate concerns about environmental impact, correct? Look about the BP oil spill. There's a lot of things that do happen that are environmentally devastating.
He didn't even need Jamie to have to pull that shit up, bro. Let's go.
Yeah. And you want to mitigate that as much as possible.
You do. Look, I had, during our 4 years, we had the cleanest air and the cleanest water. I view it differently. I say air and water. Remember this, it costs much more to do things environmentally clean. China doesn't do anything.
Right.
When Kerry goes to see President Xi of China, which he probably doesn't even get to see him, but they look at him, oh yes, we will do, oh yes, we're going to do that. No more coal, and then they approve 58 coal plants for the next, they build a coal plant a week. Okay.
They build a lot of coal plants.
But let me just tell you though, so here we are cleaning and scrubbing everything, and everything's got to, the air's got to be pure. But in 3.8 days, that stuff floating over China is right over the top of us.
Right.
Same thing with the oceans.
That's awesome. China is responsible for all the fucking carbon pollution on the planet. And it's actually fucking up our good clean air. Okay, if that's the argument, I think it's funny because like if that's the argument, he's like, and we gotta fuck it up for ourselves. Like what? So you're acknowledging the classic fucking Republican stupidity. Acknowledging that there is only a problem if China is doing it is so stupid. So what? What's the counter to that? Like we have to also fucking pollute our own waters? Like it's not like China can fucking pollute our waters.
Yep.
Like they're building coal plants. We need to build them too. But when we build them, it's clean coal. When China's doing it, it's dirty coal. They're doing it extra dirty. It's so stupid.
Dump their garbage into the Pacific Ocean. If you take a little cork and put it there, in about a week and a half, it'll be in front of Los Angeles. We're picking up their garbage. So nobody ever talks about that. But in a way, the bigger one is even...
What? China's dumping their garbage into the ocean, and it's actually fucking coming our way. China dominates renewable energy and coal power forecasts. China's status as the colossus of renewable energy is set to be cemented in the next 5 years of the world's second biggest economy, adding more capacity than the rest of the globe combined. The International Energy Agency said its Renewables in 2023 report released on Thursday that China will account for 56% of renewable energy capacity additions in the 2023-2028 period. China is expected to increase in renewable energy capacity by 2,060 gigawatts in the forecast period, while the rest of the world combined will add 1,574. The European Union and the United States are the next biggest builders of renewable energy at 429 gigawatts and 337 gigawatts respectively. It's worth noting, though, that India forecasts at 203 gigawatts of renewable capacity, while the 11 countries that make up the Association of Southeast Nations combined are expected to boost capacity to a combined 63 gigawatts. This shows that Asia is the dominant force in renewable energy deployment, which is also part of the real reason why America is like, or Trump is at least, anti-renewable energy. Because he's like, China's cleaning our lunch, we gotta destroy the planet before they fucking dominate in renewable energy, and then everyone wants to use renewable energy, we gotta fucking kill everybody. It's like, we gotta do something about it. We gotta We gotta light the planet on fire before we get to this gay, woke, renewable energy. We can't do it. We can't deal with it. If we flip the table while the game is in motion, then who's to say who won? Like, straight up. China's coal-fired power boom may be ending amid slowdown in permits. Permits for coal-fired power plants dropped by 83%, despite leading the world in construction as focus turns on renewables. As far as I understand, I think they modernized their existing coal power structure in order to limit its own output, its own carbon footprint, and then they're still very much full scale going in the direction of renewable energy. That's where the fucking coal power shit was coming from. If you click on me, I can talk about the coal thing in China in great detail. China's coal is way more clean, by the way, more efficient. 8 out of 10 largest coal plants in China are ultra super critical. US has 0. China remains world leader in clean coal-fired power generation technologies, which, by the way, this is what I'm talking about when I say clean coal, more clean. They got cleaner coal. We got to clean our coal. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that it's actually, net zero or anything like that, just so you understand. But I think this is what they were working on with their existing with their existing energy infrastructure, modernizing it so that there's less pollution overall as they move towards renewable energy. That's where that new coal plant, power plant production number comes from. Reverse China glaze time. China produces more CO2 per capita than basically every European country, although the US and Canada are still significantly greater than China. Holy fuck. Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, UAE, Brunei, Trinidad and Tobago, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Australia, Canada, United States, Russia, South Korea, Kazakhstan. China is here. China pollutes so much, but what is Trump putting tariffs on? All right, electric vehicles. America is sitting on a massive stockpile of fossil fuels, and as long as that has value on a global market, it is an asset. If America and the world move away from fossil fuel sources, it is literally damaging USA's economic strength. Yeah, if only there was some initiative to leverage against this finite resource that is destroying the planet in its extraction and its utilization, and therefore America turned around. Therefore, the United States of America turned around and tried to be an renewable energy leader, but they didn't. And now China has taken over on that front. Meanwhile, you got fucking dumbasses. Like, the IRA was fine. Okay, listen. A bunch of branded initiatives, especially in terms of EV battery manufacturing capabilities and whatnot, are not bad. What's frustrating about it is that if you ask the number one greatest fucking proposal of all time, even that had, like, obviously silly things baked into it, but the best way to communicate renewable energy, like moving towards renewable energy, would have been by slapping it on with an objectively popular historical piece of legislation that truly revitalized the American economy at a time when, things were really bad. Maybe put a word like green in front of that very popular, all-encompassing broad piece of legislation like a New Deal. And of course, predictably, the multi-billion-dollar fucking oil and gas industry made mincemeat of that, and the Democrats stopped fucking defending it. Green New Deal is the best way to communicate this. It's not just renewable energies, but it's also a fucking jobs program. Okay? It's straight up a jobs program. And of course, despite this reality, you know, they aggressively prosecuted it with fake bullshit. And now most Americans think Green New Deal means AOC is going to come to your house and kill you if you eat a burger.
The air, it's the currents. It's an amazing thing. It's been flowing that way for 1,000,000 years, long before
We share air with the whole world. Yeah.
No, if we're
We get the
cleaning,
Sahara dust clouds over here.
absolutely.
We get dust clouds in Austin from the Sahara Desert.
But we get the China, you know, they call it the China curse. We get the China curse. They're bad, and their air is dirty. You know, when I went there, I had a great relationship with the presidency. We got along very well. And they treated me better than anybody's ever been treated. Same thing with Saudi Arabia, a number of them. But they laid it out. And I said, this air is good. Do you know they closed every factory 1 week before I got there from within 200 miles?
That's like what Gavin Newsom did when Xi Jinping came to San Francisco.
Cleaned it up.
He cleaned it up. He got rid of all
Isn't
the
that
homeless
terrible
people.
in a way to think, you know, he cleaned it up and then it became a pigsty.
Well, the
He
dumbest thing is he said when your friends come by, when you have visitors, you clean up your house. Like, how about just keep your fucking house clean?
Can you imagine?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard anybody say ever as a governor as to excuse to why you finally cleaned up your homeless problem.
And the day he left,
Right back to
it
it.
went right back.
Yeah.
But in a way, that was a bad thing that he did because he showed
Showed it could be done.
what a disgrace that
Yeah.
was. What a disgrace.
Well, this is the thing that like shows you how foolish a lot of these people that are running these cities think. A lot of these people that are running these states think. It's foolish. Like you're insulting the intelligence of the people that live in that city that are impacted by these people just camping and needles and human feces. There's an app
Horrible.
that you can buy. There's an app that you can get rather that will show you where the human feces has been documented in San Francisco. It's a poo app. And it's just everywhere. It's just bum crap everywhere.
But let me give you one that you may not know,
Okay.
which I think you know everything, actually, as
That's not true.
as a student of yours. but water. You know, in Los Angeles, you can't get proper amounts of water.
Right.
And it's unbelievably expensive. And you might have a house in Beverly Hills, and they're actually thinking about rationing water. Can you believe it?
I can believe
And
it.
I was in the farm court country with some of the congressmen. We're driving up a highway, and I say, how come all this land is so barren? It's farmland, and it looked terrible. It was just brown and bad. I said, but there's always that little corner that's so green and beautiful. They said, we have no water. I said, do you have a drought? No, we don't have a drought. I said, why do you have no water? Because the water isn't allowed to flow down. It's got a natural flow from Canada all the way up north. Water, more water than they could ever use. And in order to protect a tiny little fish, the water up north gets routed into the Pacific Ocean. Millions and millions of gallons of water gets poured. You got to see this. We're driving up, and I had never seen it before. It's like Iowa. It's the most fertile land. Iowa's blessed with great land. Idaho for a potato, right?
Yeah.
But they're just, by the way, you know, some land is good for a potato.
Dude, this is a 3-hour fucking interview. We've only gotten 1 hour into it, and I've been covering for the past 3 hours. If you think I'm going to go back, you're fucking out of your mind.
You know, some land is good for corn. It's the craziest thing. I love the farmers. They're great. They're the greatest. And by the way, they're getting killed right now.
They are.
They're getting killed because of this stupid administration. But so I see this, and I said, you got to be kidding. I said, you mean you have water? And I looked at it. It's like a valve in your sink, except it's massive. The thing's 5 times taller than your ceiling.
Did you know the center of California was a giant lake?
They have so much water.
You ever see what it looks like before
No,
they rerouted
I never
it?
saw that,
The
no.
center of California, like, what is it, 200 years ago? How long ago did they do that, Jamie? The center of California had a fucking enormous lake in the middle of
So
California.
they dumped it into the Pacific.
Who knows what they did? But whatever foolishness that they did led to the situation that they're in now.
Think of those dry forests that burned down all over the world. You know, the head of Austria said,
Here it is, Tulare Lake or Tachi Lake. It's a freshwater lake in the southern San Joaquin Valley, United States. Historically, Tulare Lake was one of the largest freshwater lakes west of Mississippi. Show a photo of what it looked like back then.
that's a great system.
So that's what it looked like. Look at that image. Now go to the one on the third from the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an
wow.
enormous
What a
lake
beautiful
in the
thing.
middle of California. Imagine
That'd
that.
be much more valuable.
6 million years ago? Wait, what? When was what? What the fuck? Where? When did this lake exist? I don't know. I don't know about my California history. Under 200 years ago? I mean, there was a lake this size? That's not a lake, bro. That's like a fucking sea. There was a lake this size 200 years ago? It was one of the largest freshwater lakes west of the Mississippi for thousands of years. From the Paleolithic onward, Tulare Lake was a uniquely rich area. Second half of the 19th century, Tulare Lake was dried up by diverting its tributary rivers and agricultural irrigation and municipal water uses. In modern times, it's usually a dry lake with residual wetlands and marshes.
Esta poronga no hace daño, man.
I need to understand where, like, when
Tiene que
it
tomar.
existed at that size, because I don't think it was like in the Tulare Basin. And how large it is, I suspect, like, the largest it was probably not 200 years ago. Watch the video, the YouTube thumbnail that they're
Most
looking at as if
Americans
it's
don't know
true.
about this massive lake that used to exist in California and how this gigantic body of water disappeared, all due to one crucial mistake by the U.S. government. The Central was
Dale.
always farmland. It was a freshwater lake called Lake Corcoran that flowed through the Carquinez Strait into the Pacific.
This is what it looked like before irrigation. Wait. Okay, but that entire thing is not a fucking, like, there's no, this is not all fresh water. It's just down here. Right? Look up Owens Lake. Owners of LA Times and buddies bought land in the valley knowing it would be irrigated with his water. It's fucked all the
muy pancho,
in
güey.
Central Cali.
¿Quién va a estar
And they
aquí?
try to blow it up. A bit of an exaggeration? Yeah. You think? His attention span is so bad. You're fucking...
¡Qué mogólico!
Dude, you're fucking not wrong. Shut up.
Valuable
How
property.
crazy is that?
Oh,
Like, how
wow.
crazy is
So
that's
what
what it
did
used to
they
look
do?
like? And human beings screwed that
No,
up.
they let it go into the Pacific, and then they.
I don't know what they did. What did they do? How did it
¡Qué
go?
mogólico, man!
Yeah.
¡Qué mogólico, brother!
1983. Oh my God. Oh, went dry a handful of times. Well, you know, lakes do go dry, but that's a big one.
But think of
It's a
it.
big one to go
You
dry.
could have all of the water you need. All of that land would have more water. The whole thing could be like that little patch.
Yeah.
Literally, I'd say I was with Devin Nunes, a congressman, and other congressmen. We were going up. I was visiting that.
What do you mean that entire area could be like water? Okay, that's also not a good thing. Like, am I crazy? What are we? We're not fish, dog. There's like a shit ton of people that live there. What are they saying? He's describing a flood zone and being like, we should just, it's like looking at fucking parts of Texas and being like, all of that could be water. If I'm understanding it correctly, Trump's like, if I'm president, I'm flooding Bakersfield. They got nothing there. It's just meth. I'm flooding it. We're gonna flood the entire California basin. Tulare Lake actually reflooded last year and it pissed off a lot of farmers who lost their arable land for the foreseeable future.
Because they asked me to go up and visit their territory, and I did. But I kept saying, look at this land, it's beautiful, but it's so dry. And I thought they were going through like a desert, like a drought. They said, no, we have water, but it gets rid. So I looked into it. And I got it done. I could have water for all of that land, water for your forests. You know, your forests are dry as a bone.
Yeah.
Okay?
Dangerous.
That water could be routed. You know, you could have everything. Oh, not only dangerous, billions of dollars a year they spend on forest fires. And you know, there's a case with...
I'm not gonna click on this thirst talk, okay? We're not doing any more distractions. Stop.
They're not allowed to rake their forests because they're not allowed to touch it. When a tree falls down, after 18 months it becomes very dry. It's like, you know, like real firewood, it's bad. You know, a tree that's up, these are all things I learned the hard way, the easy way. But when a tree is up, it sucks water, it's wet. I went to they had a couple of horrible forest fires in California, and I said, you know, you had a lot of trees standing. Yes, they were healthy trees, sir. I said, with this intense heat, you could see they were charred a little bit on the bottom, but they were going to be all right because they're soaking wet because they suck up the water, right? But when they fall, they're like, you know, it's like lighting a match.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to clean, they call it maintain your forest. So I was with the head of Austria. He said, you know, it's a shame. I see all those forest fires in California, and all they have to do is clean their forest, meaning rake it up, get rid of the leaves, get rid of, you know, leaves that are sitting there for 5 years. And
we'll certainly get rid of the deadfall.
And get rid of the trees that have fallen, that, you know, are like, so many things this country. By the way,
could you really rake the whole forest, though? I don't think...
I do personally love Donald Trump being like, we gotta deregulate. These regulations are so bad. They're so bad. And then simultaneously going into a story about how a lack of regulation in terms of water management caused this like lake to evaporate. And then now he's weaved back into, and you know, we gotta do forests from the standpoint of forests. I learned a lot as president. Trees stand up. We gotta rake the forest. They're not raking it. They're not sweeping it. He's kind of right. No, that's the beauty of Donald Trump. He's not like, I think he retains some random facts with conversations that he has with experts, but the overall energy is completely on the wrong side. His advocacy is completely on the wrong side. Like when he says, oh, there needs to be better forest management, like he's not wrong in terms of forest management, but I don't think he gives a shit about that at all. He was just like, what is this? Forest Trump. He's gonna rake it up.
You could rake the whole forest.
Well,
I think you can get rid of the deadfall, but raking all the leaves...
You could certainly get rid of the dead, okay?
Yeah, I think that's the real issue.
You know,
the
environmentally,
deadfall.
they don't want to do that. They said, you know, it's got to be nature and all this stuff. But in the meantime, this is exactly right. But you could have, so it was the Department of Commerce that needed the approval.
I'm gonna fill that basin and you tell me, no, Mr. Trump, there's too much water, please, from the standpoint of water, and I'll tell you, nope, keep it on. And when I bring back all the power, I will zap California once and for all. All of you will be living in the water. Time to grow some gills. No scum. Didn't want me to flood the water. Didn't want me to flood California.
But Gavin Newsom had to sign them. I got it all done. Nobody could believe it. It was all done. I said, I got it. You got so much water. All you have to do is sign. And that guy didn't want to sign.
Did he not want to sign because that would be a political victory for you?
I think no, he didn't. No, I don't think so. He used to say he's a great president and we got along. We did. We actually got along at that point. But I think somebody said you just can't continue to call him a great president. They do say that. But we had it all done. He didn't sign, and then we got on to other things. And I every time I go to California, I said, you have so much water. They don't know it. I'm telling you, people living in Beverly Hills, they turn off the water. Same thing with the electric. They want to go to all electric cars, but they have brownouts every weekend,
Well, right after they made the announcement that...
Wait, what? No, we don't. What? What the fuck's he talking about? No, we actually don't. What? Yes, you do. He said you do. What? The fuck's he saying? People say that all the time. Wait, what? People say that about California? What the fuck? Wait. What? You're lying, bro. Come on. Dog, I'm literally live the entire duration of the day. What are you saying? If you have been a fan of mine for a long enough time, you can directly counter this narrative by simply watching. Like, you'd be like, nah, I watch a fucking crazy, stupid Twitch streamer who streams straight up 8 hours a day, and he's in California, and that's never happened. The only time the electricity cuts out in California in some fashion is rare, but if it does happen, it's because it drizzled a little bit. It rained like this much.
As of 2035, you're not going to be able to buy an internal combustion engine in California.
Yeah.
Like within a month, they had some announcement asking people to not charge their Teslas. Because the grid couldn't handle it. Well, how are you
I will terminate the mandate immediately. This is a
Good,
mandate.
thank you.
That will be done, I would say, in my first day, maybe.
My fucking dumb Republican parents who live in Rancho Cucamonga literally fantasize about California's rolling brownouts constantly, which is fucking insane because it's never happened to them or us in my life. Yeah, what? That is my favorite type of, that is my favorite type of being a Trump supporter, where you're like, when they'll literally be like, crime is happening in your backyard, and you could just like literally peek out the window and see that it's not happening, but you still choose to believe it because Trump said it. In 30 years, the longest I've been without electricity here in the Bay Area is when a transformer went out and we were without power for 2 days and a few blackouts here and there, that's all.
Be 2 days because,
Let me ask you about nuclear. One of the things that when I've talked to people that have a real understanding of nuclear power, what their position is, it's probably the cleanest, safest form of electricity that we could generate. And that the fears of nuclear...
I suspect Trump is anti-nuclear because he's so fucking fossil fuel pilled, but we'll see. He's also very amenable. He's very persuadable, especially when it's like Joe Rogan speaking to him. So we'll hear what he has to say.
Are really about a few disasters: the Fukushima, 3 Mile Island. These
here comes the Sans nuclear take. Listen, I'm a fucking Luddite. Okay, I'm a Luddite. You're anti-nuclear because you're a moron? No, I'm just scared, man. Okay, give me a fucking break. I think it's valid to be fearful. Shut the fuck up. People get so mad.
And that they're much more capable now, and they're capable of making even better systems. But it's a difficult political issue because you think nuclear power, you think Chernobyl. That's what everybody does. They have this connection. They have the potential
Or
disaster.
Fukushima, which
or
is
Fukushima.
where you're not supposed to enter the land for 3,000 years or something.
It's
crazy.
I think it's worse than that. I think that area is like going to be radioactive for probably longer than you could imagine. But the point is they're better at it now.
Right.
And that they could do it now, and you can generate power in a way that you don't have to worry about these. One of the most ridiculous things is electric cars being powered by coal-fired plants. It's a ridiculous thing.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, that is what's happening.
what's happening.
And people want to think they're being green, but it's
Well, if you look at the way the battery is made, but here's the other thing. We
Right.
don't have, well, we do actually. It's being held. We have certain areas where we have great raw earth material, and we're not allowed to use it because of the environment. And we have areas in California that have incredible raw earth, and they're not allowing, and I'm going to open it up. I'm going to let them use it.
But how do you do that?
You just talked about the fucking lake and the forests. Are you an environmentalist or not? None of this makes sense to me. He's like, I'm gonna drill, baby, drill. Also, I am going to restore the Californian wetlands to its once former glory by flooding the basin, okay? Whether you like it or not, whether you live there or not. It's like, he is... Also, we're not even talking about fucking... Okay, I guess he's saying like... I guess he's talking about like raw materials necessary for nuclear power. But still, he's like kind of moving away from nukes.
China.
How do you do that and protect the environment?
Because the environment's going to be protected. You can do it. You can make a lake out of it. Okay, we'll put back a lake. I mean, something nice about lakes. You can do things magnificently.
You just have to do it carefully and responsibly.
Absolutely, you have to do it carefully. But the problem, China has all of those areas, most of those areas. And yet, when they say go electric with the cars, China is going to be the one that gives us the cars. All of those guys in Detroit are going to be out of business. You're going to make your electric cars over there. We have a thing called gasoline, and we have more oil and gas under our feet than any other nation. I had, in Alaska, there's a find. It's called Anwar. I got it approved. Reagan could...
It's literally a finite resource that is destroying the environment. It is a finite resource that is destroying the environment. You are recognizing that our largest global competitor has their path set forward, has their eyes on the future, and is going to dominate the future of energy. And your response to it is, no, let's just make that illegal. He's like, let's not try to keep up. Let's go backwards. That is crazy. This is straight up flipping the fucking table before the Monopoly game is over because your competition bought all the fucking all the expensive real estate and put fucking hotels on it. It's too late. Fuck it.
Couldn't get it. Nobody could get it. I got it all done. It was amazing. They were getting ready to start drilling. The equivalent, they think, of Saudi Arabia, one of the biggest finds in the world. It was all set to go. And Biden comes in, one of his first orders were, we're not going to use it. It would have been so good we could have supplied all of Asia with oil and gas.
What was the negative?
And you talk
of it?
about money.
Right.
The negative was politically they didn't think it was good for them. That's all.
That's all it was. So you don't think that it's environmentally dangerous?
Taking it from way down deep in the earth, environmentally would have been fine.
So it can be done responsibly.
Absolutely.
To the
Otherwise,
point where it
let's
protects
not
the
do it.
environment.
Well, I think windmills. Okay, so they talk about
That's a good
windmills.
point.
I think windmills are really disruptive. When you talk about the environment, they kill the birds. You want to see a bird cemetery? Go under a windmill someday that hasn't been cleaned out with all the bird carcasses. It's like massive amounts of.
Well, they're also.
Oh my God. Oh my God. My man just said, we got to drill, baby, drill. No environmental pollution whatsoever from that process or even the utilization of that fossil fuel in the aftermath. Okay? And then he turns around and he's like, windmills are so bad, they're fucking doing bird genocide. Like, how does this make any sense, dude? It's like, no, you don't understand. Fossil fuels, notoriously good for the environment. Earth loves it when you're fracking it, okay? Nobody ever thinks about how good the earth feels when you're fracking the sweet cum directly out of the ground. Believe me, no one thinks about it. Feels good as fuck for the earth when you're fracking it, okay? I know it. Believe me, I know it. I've tried it. I've fracked myself. Windmills are, on the other hand, doing bird genocide They're killing all the birds.
So a massive eyesore. I went to
Oh, they're
a ranch in
horrible.
South Texas. We had to drive past this enormous windmill farm. It's gross. It's dystopian. You're looking in the left and the right, and all you see is these big spinning machines that aren't even that effective at generating electricity.
Correct. Most expensive form of electricity is a windmill. And then they start to rust and rot.
And you have to
And then they
replace
get
them.
abandoned by the people that built them. Because
Well, you have to get rid of all that material too. When you replace those blades, now you have a problem because you have
Can't
to
bury 'em.
dispose. Right, you have to dispose these enormous windmills. And how
by
do
the
you
way, they
dispose
say
of
you
them?
can't bury them. So I even question that, but I'm not going to get into it. But they say you can't bury the blades. So you have the blades, and you can't bury the blades. You can bury the blades. It's not going to matter. You can bury them. You'll find areas you can bury them.
You can't bury the blades. You can bury the blades. It's not gonna matter. We'll find a place to bury the blades. Listen, I'm a blade expert. Rogan, I'm a blade expert. I know. I'm a bird expert too. Anwar! Al-Awlaki! I'm gonna drill him like I drilled Alaska. By the way, the conversation was around nukes. Did not talk about nuclear energy even a little bit.
But they come up, this is what I mean, they come up with this, but the environmentalist dream is windmills, everyone. You know what happens to them? After 5 years, they start to rot. After 10 years, you have to replace them. Did you ever look at certain parts of...
Famously, if there's one aspect of the extraction of fossil fuels, it's famously recyclable. What do you think they do with the fucking wells, dude? What do you think happens? Like, yeah, he's like, you don't understand. It's so good. It's so good. When you're fracking, it's so good. Water supply is good. It's good for the water supply to get the sediment. They like it. People like it. They're telling me that they drink it and they go, yummy. It's like Dr. Do. It's so good. It makes you stronger. Very good. No problems whatsoever. Also, when they're done drilling, they just leave it there and it looks cool. Everybody likes it. Everybody's always saying it's very cool. I love seeing those drills.
California where they have heavy windmills and they've been abandoned and they're all different manufacturers and all different companies and they all...
I haven't seen that.
It is the ugliest thing. It looks like a graveyard almost, a graveyard of windmills.
It's pollution.
It's so bad.
It's
And in
no
the
more,
oceans.
It's no different than leaving garbage on the ground.
How about in New Jersey, off the coast of New Jersey, they want to build... The people are going crazy not to build them. But where you have them, the whales are washing up on shore.
Right.
So in 50 years, they had one whale come ashore. Now they had like 18 come in the last year.
What is happening with the whales? I've read about this.
Well, they say that the wind drives them crazy. You know, it's a vibration.
Trump said we'll mine the earth and then turn the toxic pit into a lake. Joe doesn't question it. Start talking about windmills. Joe's like, it's pollution. Yeah. It's kind of like this, okay? If you are supposed to be a leftist or a progressive, everyone fucking yells at you for, like, the most minor shit. They even fantasize about what your positions are supposed to be, and then get mad at you for not abiding by said fantasized positions when you're like, that's not my position at all. And renewable energy is in that same bind. We do not match up renewable energy and its damage to the impact, albeit marginal, against the massive amounts of impact that fossil fuels have, because we're like, well, it's supposed to be the opposite. It's supposed to heal the environment. And it's like, yeah, in comparison to fucking oil and gas, it is. Like, that's it's as an alternative, it's better. But they don't do that. They're like, well, it doesn't kiss me while I'm getting the windmill. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help me at all. It's also hurting the birds. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. It's like, it's not supposed to. Nobody said it's gonna be fucking perfect. Like, what the fuck? It's just better than fucking fossil fuels, which I will repeat once again, finite, okay? It is a finite source of energy, as in there is a limited amount of it, okay? Wells, they love the offshore oil rigs. They love it. They love it so much. They tell me they're killing themselves because they want to be closer to the offshore oil rigs, and then they die because they want to take a closer look at it. But the windmills, they hate it. That's why they're killing themselves. Whales kill themselves all the time because
¿Qué está pasando, vieja? Pero qué cuidado, boludo.
Wind turbines are the reason why whales are killing themselves, whereas offshore oil drilling, everybody loves it. Have you seen that video, Joe? Joe, have you seen the video? Deep sea oil rig, big alien style. Big alien comes up to the oil rig. You ever seen that deep oil well? Those octopus, they look crazy. I call them octopi. Some nerd told me it's octopuses. I say octopi. Fact-checking Donald Trump claimed that wind turbines kill whales. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has claimed that wind turbines off the coast of the U.S. are causing whales to die in numbers never seen before. There's no evidence to back Mr. Trump's suggestion that offshore wind turbines are killing whales. NOAA officials carried out post-mortem examinations about 90 humpback whales found dead since 2016. 40% of those deaths were linked to human interaction, whales becoming entangled in fishing nets or being struck by vessels traveling through their feeding grounds. In the remaining cases investigated by the NOAA, other factors were listed as possible causes of death, including parasite-caused organ damage or starvation. I wonder how that starvation happened. That's right.
No.
Wind turbines, they're actually killing the coral reef. They're killing all of the natural wildlife. Everybody knows it. It's not the fracking. Don't say it's fracking. Don't say it's climate change. That's woke and gay. Do not mention temperatures rising to me, Joe. It's not us. It's the wind turbines. It's killing the plankton by the millions. It's a genocide. Oh my God.
Because you have those, those things are 50-story buildings, some of them.
Right, and they're
50.
super sensitive to vibrations
They have
and
those,
sounds.
the wind is rushing, the things are blowing.
Like, what is this? What is going on? You have the former U.S. president talking to the largest, like, one of the largest media personalities on the planet, and the entire conversation, start to finish, is just two dumb guys speculating on shit that they do not know about and are completely uninterested in examining further with facts. What is going on? It's crazy. This is crazy. What the fuck? They're just like, yeah, you're right, Mr. President. Yeah, the vibrations are probably causing the whales to kill themselves. The vibrations, I've heard somewhere, I watched a video where the vibrations mimic the sonar frequency of whales, and it always is like telling the whales to fucking kill themselves, and then they get sad, and then they do it. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Let's not look at it any further. Let's not investigate further, Mr. President. Let's not do that, please.
It's a vibration, and it makes noise. You know what it is? I want to be a whale psychiatrist. It drives the whales freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Something happens with them. But for whatever reason, they're getting washed up on shore, and yet the environmentalists...
Conveniently ignored by the environmental
but the
people.
environmentalists, they don't talk about it.